Hey everyone, welcome back to Just Say English. This is your daily space to practice English, listen to real conversations, and slowly build confidence. I'm Sophia.
And I'm Ramo. We're really glad you're here with us today. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss our daily English episodes.
All right, Ramo, let's start with something simple. How was your weekend? Did you manage to finish everything you planned to do?
Honestly, not really. I had so many things on my list. I had to make the laundry, make the dishes, and even make my taxes.
Hold on. Wait a second, Ramo. Stop right there.
What happened? What did I say?
You said make the laundry and make the dishes.
Yeah, that sounds fine to me.
That's actually a very common mistake. In English, we don't say make the laundry, we say do the laundry. And we also say do the dishes.
Oh, really? But why?
They're both actions, right? I'm doing something in both cases.
You're right. They are actions.
But this confusion is one of the biggest problems English learners face, choosing between make and do.
Ah, so this is one of those tricky English things.
Exactly, and that's why we're talking about it today.
So today's topic is make versus do.
Yes, today we're finally going to clear this up. By the end of this lesson, you'll know when to use make and when to use do without guessing.
That would be amazing because I feel like I make this mistake all the time.
And trust me, you're not alone.
My students ask me questions like, do I make homework or do homework? Do I make an exam or do an exam?
Yes, in many languages, there's just one word for this, so English feels confusing.
That's true, but the good news is there's a simple way to think about it.
We're going to explain one clear rule and then we'll practice it together.
All right, I'm ready.
Here's the basic idea.
We usually use make when we create or produce something new.
And we usually use do when we perform an action or complete a task.
Okay, create versus complete.
Exactly. For example, if I say, I'm going to make a cake, what does that mean?
It means you create a cake. Before that, there was no cake.
Right, something new appears. Now, if I say, I'm going to do my homework, what happens?
You finish your homework. You complete the task.
Exactly. The homework already exists, you're just completing it.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Let's go back to your weekend example. You don't make laundry, you do the laundry.
Because the clothes already exist.
Yes, you're performing a task.
But I make a mistake.
Exactly. A brand new mistake appears, sadly.
That's true.
So keep this idea in mind. Creation versus action.
Let's look at some very common examples with make.
Make a decision. Make a plan. Make an effort. Make progress. Make money.
In all of these, something new happens.
Exactly. Now, some common examples with do.
Do homework, do the dishes, do the laundry, do your best, do exercise. These feel like responsibilities or tasks.
That's right. Now, before we move on, there's something important you should know.
Let me guess, there are exceptions.
Of course there are. This is English. For example, we say do damage even though it feels like you're creating damage.
So not everything follows the rule perfectly.
That's true, but most common phrases do. And the more you listen to real English, the more natural this becomes.
So practice is really important.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to do next. We'll practice make and do in real situations so you can start using them with confidence.
All right, I'm ready to practice.
Great. Let's move on to some everyday examples. All right. let's start practicing with real life situations because rules are helpful, but examples are what really make things clear.
Yes, I agree. That's how I remember things better.
Okay, Ramo, imagine this situation. You wake up in the morning. You have a busy day ahead. What are some things you usually do before work?
Well, first I get up, then I brush my teeth, and after that I do my morning routine.
Good. You said, do my morning routine. That's correct.
Because it's a task. I'm not creating a new routine.
Exactly. Now, what about breakfast?
I make breakfast.
Right. You make breakfast because you create the food. Before breakfast, there is no meal. After that, there is.
Okay, that difference is becoming clearer.
Let's take another common situation school or college. What do students usually say?
They say I have to do my homework.
Yes, and not make my homework, because the homework already exists. The teacher gave it to you.
Right, you're just completing it.
Now, here's a tricky one. What about a presentation?
I think we say make a presentation.
Yes, because you create the presentation slides and content.
But during the meeting, I do the presentation.
Good point. In that case, we usually say give a presentation.
English really likes specific verb.
It does. But don't worry, this comes with exposure and practice. Let's talk about work and office English. What do you say when you complete your job responsibilities?
I do my work.
Correct. But what if you plan something new for your team?
Then I make a plan.
Exactly. You do work, you make plans.
That contrast helps a lot.
Now, let's slow things down and repeat this idea clearly. We say make for ideas, decisions, plans, and results. We say do for jobs, tasks, duties, and responsibilities.
So things that feel like work usually go with do.
Yes, that's a good way to think about it. Let's practice with some quick examples. I'll say a sentence, you tell me if it sounds right.
Okay, let's try.
I need to make my homework tonight.
No, that's wrong. It should be do my homework.
Correct. Next, I need to do a decision.
That doesn't sound right either. It should be make a decision.
Exactly. I want to make progress in my English.
That sounds correct.
Yes, progress is something that appears over time. Now, here's something many learners ask. What about exercise?
I think we say do exercise.
Yes, or more naturally, do some exercise.
Because, again, it's an activity.
Exactly. Let's connect this to daily habits. You do your chores. You do your responsibilities. But you make goals. You make promises.
So goals and promises are created.
Yes. Now, don't worry if this still feels slow or confusing. That's normal. Fluency comes from hearing these phrases again and again.
So listening to real conversations really helps.
It really does. All right, in the next part, we'll talk about common exceptions and phrases you just need to remember.
Okay, that sounds useful.
And we'll also do a longer practice section so you can test yourself.
I'm ready.
Great, let's move on. All right, now let's talk about something important. We've shared a clear rule for make and do. But as you already know, English always has a few exceptions.
Of course it does. No English lesson is complete without exceptions.
Exactly. But don't worry, these are common phrases, and once you learn them, they feel natural. Let's start with one we mentioned earlier. We say do damage.
Even though it sounds like you're creating damage.
Yes, but English uses do here. For example, the storm did a lot of damage to the houses.
Not made damage.
Right. Made damage sounds unnatural. Here are a few more expressions that always use do. Do your best. do well, do badly, do someone a favor.
These don't really follow the creation rule.
That's true. These are fixed expressions. You learn them as a group. Now, let's look at some make expressions that learners often forget. Make an effort, make progress, make money, make friends, make a promise.
So even friendships are something you create.
Exactly. Now, let's practice this in a short role play. Imagine you're talking about your goals for this year.
Okay,
Try to use make and do naturally.
all right. This year I want to make more progress in my English.
Good.
I also want to do my daily practice regularly.
Perfect.
And I want to make better decisions about my study time.
That sounds great and very natural. Now let's try another situation. Imagine you're very busy at work.
Okay.
Try to use make and do naturally.
I have a lot of work to do today.
Correct.
I need to make a plan to finish everything.
Exactly. So notice how both verbs work together. You do the work, you make the plan.
Seeing them together really helps.
Now let's slow down and review again. We use do for activities, tasks, and obligations. We use make for results, ideas, and things that come into existence.
And some phrases just need to be memorized.
Yes, that's normal in any language. Here's a tip for learners. When you're unsure, think about the noun. Ask yourself, am I creating something new or am I completing a task?
That's a useful question.
And if you still feel unsure, listen to how native speakers use it. Let's do a quick correction exercise. I'll say a sentence, you correct it.
Okay.
I need to do a decision soon.
It should be, I need to make a decision soon.
Correct. She made her homework last night.
That should be, she did her homework last night.
Exactly. If you can correct these sentences, you're already improving.
It actually feels clearer now.
Good. That's the goal. Now, before we finish, let's talk about confidence. You don't need to be perfect. Even native speakers make mistakes sometimes.
That's true.
What matters is that people understand you. In the final part, we'll do a short quiz and review everything one last time.
All right, I'm ready for the quiz.
Great. Let's move on. All right, everyone. Welcome to the final part of today's lesson. Now it's time to check your understanding and see how comfortable you feel with make and do.
Don't worry if you're not sure. This is just practice.
Let's start with a short quiz. Sentence 1. I need to dash an important phone call. Dash means blank.
That should be make. Make an important phone call.
Correct. Sentence 2. Did you dash your best in the exam?
That's do. Do your best.
Exactly. Sentence 3. She wants to dash progress in her career.
Make progress.
Yes. Sentence 4. I still have a lot of work to dash today.
Do. I have a lot of work to do.
Perfect. If these answers felt easy, that's a great sign.
And if they felt difficult, that's also okay.
Exactly. Learning takes time. Let's do one more short activity. Think about your day today. What are 2 things you did and 1 thing you made?
Today I did my work, I did some exercise, and I made a plan for tomorrow.
That's a great example. Now, let's quickly review everything. We usually use make when we create something new. For example, make a decision, make a plan, make a mistake, make progress.
And we use do when we complete a task or activity. Do homework, do the dishes, do the laundry, do your best.
And remember, some expressions don't follow the rule perfectly. For example, do damage and do a favor.
Those just need to be memorized.
Here's an important reminder. You don't need to stop speaking just because you're unsure. Making mistakes is part of learning.
And every mistake helps you improve.
The more you listen to real English, the more natural these phrases become. That's why practicing with conversations like this really helps.
Before we finish, here's a small challenge for you.
In the comments, write one sentence using make and one sentence using do.
We'll read them, and it's a great way to practice.
If you found this lesson helpful, don't forget to like the video.
And if you're new here, subscribe so you don't miss our daily English practice.
We post new conversations regularly to help you speak more confidently.
Little by little, day by day.
All right, that brings us to the end of today's lesson.
Thank you so much for learning with us. We'll see you again with another useful English topic.
Bye for now. Take care.